Chapter 15 Denunciation of Ego. Rama continued. Egoism springs from false conceit fostered by vanity. I am much afraid of this enemy, baneful egotism. All men in this diversified world, even the very poorest of them, fall into the dungeon of evils and misdeeds under the influence of ego. All accidents, anxieties, troubles, and wicked exertions proceed from ego and self-confidence. Hence, I deem ego to be like a disease. Being subject to that everlasting arch-enemy, the cynic ego, I have refrained from food and drink. What other enjoyment is there for me to partake? This world resembles a long, continuous night in which our ego, like a hunter, spreads the snare of affections. All our great and intolerable miseries, growing as rank as thorny acacia plants, are only the results of our ego. It overcasts the equanimity of mind, like an eclipse shadows the moon. It destroys our virtues like frost destroys lotus flowers. It dispels the peace of men as autumn drives away the clouds. Therefore, I must get rid of this egoistic feeling. I am not Rama the prince. I have no desire, nor should I wish for wealth. But I wish to have the peace of my mind and remain like the self-satisfied old sage Jina. All that I have eaten, done, or offered in sacrifice under the influence of ego have gone for nothing. The absence of ego is the real good. So long, O Brahmin, as there is ego, he is subject to sorrow at his difficulties. If he is devoid of it, he becomes happy. Hence, it is better to be without it. I am free from anxiety, O sage, ever since I have come to know the impermanence of all enjoyments, gave up my sense of egoism, and attained the tranquility of my mind. As long, O Brahmin, as the cloud of egoism covers our minds, our desires expand themselves like kurchi plant buds in rain. But when the cloud of egoism is dispersed, the lightning of greed vanishes away. Just like when a lamp is extinguished, its light immediately disappears. The mind vaunts with ego, like a furious elephant in the Vindhyan hills, when it hears thunder in the clouds. Ego is like a lion living in the vast forest of all human bodies, who ranges about at large throughout the whole extent of this earth. Rama continued. The self-conceited are decorated with a string of pearls about their necks, of which greed forms the thread, and repeated births are the pearls. Our hostile enemy, ego, like a magician, has spread about us the enchantments of our wives, friends, and children, whose spells it is hard to break. As soon as the impression of the word ego is effaced from the mind, all our anxieties and troubles are wiped out of it. The cloud of ego being dispelled from the sky of our minds, the mist of error which it spreads to destroy our peace, will also disperse. I have given up my ego, yet my mind remains stupefied with sorrow from my ignorance. Tell me, O Brahmin, what do you think is right for me under these circumstances? I have given up this egoism with much trouble, and I would like to not depend upon the source of all evil and worry any more. It retains its seat in the breast only to annoy me, without benefiting me by any good quality of its own. Direct me now, you men of great understandings. Chapter 16. The Inability to Control the Mind. Rama continued to address the court. He said, "Our minds are infested with evil passions and faults, and fluctuate in their observance of duty and service to superiors like the plumes of a peacock fluttering in a breeze. Minds eagerly and restlessly rove about at random from one place to another, like a poor village dog running far and wide in search of food. It seldom finds anything anywhere, and happening even to get a good store somewhere, it is as little content with it as a wicker vessel filled with water. The vacant mind, O sage, is ever entrapped in its evil desires. It is never at rest with itself, but roams at large like a stray deer separated from its herd. The human mind, as light as the minutest particle, is like an unsteady wave. Therefore, it can have no rest in spite of its nature. Disturbed by its thoughts, the mind is tossed in all directions, like the waters of the milk-white ocean when churned by Mandara mountain. I cannot curb my mind, resembling the vast ocean in its course, subject to huge surges of passions, with whirlpools of error, and beset by the whales of delusion. Rama continued. O Brahmin, our minds run afar from sensual enjoyments. Like deer running towards tender blades of grass, unmindful of falling into hidden traps. The mind can never get rid of its wavering state owing to its nature of habitual fickleness, resembling the restlessness of the sea. The mind, with its natural fickleness and restless thoughts, finds no repose at any place, like a lion is in its cage. The mind, seated in the car of delusion, absorbs the sweet, peaceful, and undisturbed rest of the body, like a swan sucking up pure milk from amidst the water. O chief of sages, I grieve much to find the faculties of the mind lying asleep upon a bed of imaginary delights, from which they are hard to awaken. O Brahmin, like a bird in a net, I am caught by the knots of my ego, and held fast by the thread of my greed. Like dried hay on fire, the flame of my anxieties burns in my mind, under the spreading fumes of my impatience. Like a clod of cold meat, I am devoured by the cruelty and greed of my heart, like a carcass swallowed by a hungry dog and its greedy mate. I am carried away, O sage, by the current of my heart, like a tree on the bank carried away by waters and waves beating upon it. I am led far by my mind, like straw carried off by a hurricane, either to flutter in the air or fall upon the ground. My earthly mindedness has put a stop to my desire of crossing over the ocean of the world, as an embankment stops the course of a stream. The baseness of my heart lifts me up and lets me down like a log of wood tied to a rope and dragged in and out of a well. Rama continued. As a child is seized when his imagination thinks he sees a demon, so I find myself in the grasp of my wicked mind, representing falsities as true. It is hard to repress the mind which is hotter than fire, more inaccessible than a hill, and stronger than a thunderbolt. The mind is attracted to its objects like a bird to its prey. It has not even a moment's respite, like a boy and his play. My mind resembles the sea both in its dullness and its restlessness, and in its extent and fullness, with whirlpools and dragons that keep me from advancing. It is more difficult to subdue the mind than to drink the ocean or upset Sumeru mountain. It is harder than the hardest thing. The mind is the cause of all exertions and the source of all that senses the three worlds. Its weakness weakens all worldliness and requires to be cured with care. Our pains and pleasures arise by the hundreds from the mind, like woods growing in groups upon a hill. But no sooner is the scythe of reason applied to them than they fall off one by one. I am ready to subdue my mind, my greatest enemy in this world, for the purpose of mastering all the virtues which the learned say depend upon it. My lack of desires has made me adverse to wealth and the gross pleasures it yields, which are like the tints of cloud tainting the moon.